Welcome back to the show. Coach Mangini's in for Nick. Joe Burrow and the Bengals start their offseason program on Monday. Bit of a new look. Joe Mixon gone, and T won't be there. He's not thrilled about that franchise tag. Nevertheless, Joe is ready to challenge the champs. Here's what he said about Mahomes and the Chiefs. We both work really hard at what we do. They've got great players. We've got great players. I think we match up pretty well with them. We're kind of built to beat them. The question in the script, Coach, was, should Nick be worried? But BT Dubs, I'm also a Chiefs fan, my second favorite team. So should all Chiefs fans be worried?
Yeah. I think this is the team that they need to legitimately worry about. And when you look at Joe Burrow, when he's been healthy, they've been top 10 in almost every offensive category and really top 5 in a bunch of offensive categories. He's 3-1 against the Chiefs. So when we were in New England and we had it rolling, there were teams that would come in and we knew we had them beat as they came in. And they kind of bowed down to the uniform and the aura and all that stuff. And then
give me one of those teams.
I mean, we beat up on a lot of teams.
We can probably look it up.
We beat up on a lot of teams at that point. But then there were other teams, and I think even Tom struggled with the Ravens. After I left, I feel like that was a team that he kind of like the Chiefs or Cincinnati is for Kansas City. They were difficult for New England to deal with. And so there's that component, and Cincinnati's not intimidated at all by Kansas City. And if anything, they feel like they've got a little bit of an edge on Kansas City. So that's impactful. They've got almost all their offensive weapons back. They added Gesicki. They've got 10 draft picks, so they got a chance to get better in the draft. They've got the 10th most salary cap space, so there is flexibility to still do some things here, as we move on and guys become available that weren't available. So as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy,
Bingo.
I think they've got a real opportunity. Now, the one addendum I'll say is that division is rough.
Ooh.
So Cincinnati's got to get out of that division in order to even get to the Chiefs, and that's not going to be easy at all. But you will be battle-tested if you're the team that emerges.
Look, I get that this is kind of Burrow's how he is, his personality, and everybody loves it. But I don't like this. I don't like the talking like this. All right, I get that they're 3-1 against the Chiefs and have played them well, but they did lose that one loss was in the AFC Championship game, and then now it was a year and a half ago, and they're losing, probably going to lose T. I still don't think they have to trade T, but, they may lose him. Tyler Boyd may be gone. I know they got some picks. But Burrow, you said it a few times, if he's healthy. Burrow, this is like an Anthony Davis type thing.
I totally agree.
Where it's like every quarterback, of course, they have to be healthy. But there are a few players where that's really an issue, and he is one of them. So I'm saying, coming off a year where you got hurt in rolling out in practice, and you lost some players or will lose some players, I just think you don't need to be talking about Kansas City like this. When they were talking about Burrowhead Stadium, it didn't work out well. So again, that's their personality, but I don't think this should have been said.
With Joe Burrow, do you feel like when he says those things, he's saying it because he believes it, or he's saying it because he's trying to convince himself that that's the case?
I think he believes it. And you can say, okay, he's got to go prove, but you're putting fuel to the fire with Kansas City.
But to me, that's the difference.
Yes.
He legitimately believes what he's saying.
Believes it.
The Bills
There's a
don't.
lot of guys that say stuff and put it out in the NFL universe.
That's right.
Because they're trying to convince themselves
Right.
that could happen. Where with him, he truly believes it. And then when your quarterback believes that, everybody else in the room believes that because they know you can make it happen.
Quickly about Joe's injuries. First, rookie year, I don't think anyone says that's his fault. Then he plays 16 back-to-back. He played 10 this year. The first 4, he wasn't himself. He threw 2 touchdowns. His calf hurt. Couldn't throw the ball down the field. He was one of the worst quarterbacks statistically in the league. And then all of a sudden he shows up with a wrap, and then he can't hold the ball week 10. Is any of this on him conditioning-wise, a style of play? We talk so much about Lamar's style of play as an injury risk. Tua is obviously an injury risk. Josh Allen's an injury risk. Meanwhile, he's missed a ton of games. And is it just like, it's just bad luck that you get bitten by the injury bug?
The only one that really stood out was when he was rolling out and pulled the muscle or whatever that initial one where it's a soft tissue, well, it was a soft tissue injury, those are the ones that you look at and you say, okay, well, what was he doing leading up to that? Because that's usually when you get it is early in training camp or early in the season where you get those injuries, and it's usually related to some sort of off-season conditioning component to it. But I haven't heard anybody talk about him as not being a hard worker or not doing all the things that the expectation would be.
Some guys are just injury prone.
Yeah, there's definitely some guys that are injury prone, and sometimes you're unlucky and you go through 1 or 2 years where you get dinged up. I mean, Lamar's a great example. 2 years back to back, this year fully healthy.
Okay, let's head down to Miami. Former Buffalo Bill and new member of the Dolphins, Jordan Poyer, optimistic about taking the Dolphins to the next level. Take a listen.
A lot of respect and love for the city of Buffalo, but new beginnings out here in South Florida. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the opportunity. It's a good football team that they have, and I'm just here to help to see if they can get over the hump.
Okay, here's the projections of win totals that I don't totally agree with. Bills are at 10.5. Dolphins are at 9.5. The Jets, who are led by a quarterback who hasn't thrown for 300 yards in 23 games, at 9.5. And then the Patriots on the drive for 5 at 4.5. Now, we'll start with you, Brew. Is this the year Miami gets over the hump?
No. No. I mean, everybody's talking about the Jets offseason acquisition. Oh, Tyron Smith, he's not going to be healthy. These guys can't stay healthy. Mike Williams. Shaq Barrett, Jordan Poyer's going to be 33, and he's had some injury issues. Same thing with Barrett. I think that's a concern. And the bottom line is this. Tua has yet to prove he can play well against good teams. All right, 1-6 last year against playoff teams. And it wasn't just that they lost. It was that his production plummeted. And then, Coach, in most cases, to get where you want to go in the playoffs, you have to be able to win in cold weather. It's not even cold weather. It's brisk. Well, it's just a little brisk. All right, 46 degrees and under, Tua's 0-6. I mean, if you're going to have to beat Buffalo in the playoffs, we know that we have to worry about New England, but Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City, maybe even Baltimore as far as weather, you have to go through some cold weather teams. So, no, they're not getting over the hump.
Yeah,
they'll be all right.
I didn't love last year how they faded down the stretch. And you look at the last 2 games of the season, throws 4 picks in those 2 games. He's got the 2 worst quarterback ratings in those 2 games. And the team as a whole, losing Vic Fangio, and I'm not saying he's a savior, but he's a very good defensive coordinator. And I thought he brought some balance to that team because being a former head coach and being an older coach, I think that's a good mix to have in the room, and his system is solid. So there's that transition that they're going to go through defensively. They've got salary cap issues, so there's not a lot of room to improve there. Thankfully, they've actually got some draft picks for the first time in a long time, so that's good. But it's a star-studded team. It's a little bit unconventional in the way that it's being run, and there's good things about it. But let's see whether or not it can hold up year in year out. And then the injury issue, Tua's a concussion away from being out and potentially out long term. So there's that, and now he doesn't have a new contract. So you've got this team full of stars that are highly paid, especially the offensive guys, and you've got a quarterback that the organization is saying, we don't believe enough in him to where we want to extend him at this point. That doesn't add a lot of it's not what you want, the message you necessarily want to be sending.
Do you believe in organizational momentum, where we've seen the Packers, they won a playoff game. Let's see what they do. The Lions finished 2 years ago, finished hot, got hot in the playoffs. This year, we hope they take the next step. The Texans won a playoff game. Maybe this year they can take the next step. The Dolphins, when Jordan Poyer's talking about getting over the hump is winning 1 playoff game this century. It was December 30th, 2000. I was still getting carded at bars. I was 24 years old. So do you think they've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games since then? Do they just need to win 1 game? Good news, we're building something.
They might.
Look, we got a game this century.
Organizational momentum can be a real thing, but look at the Giants. They go to the playoffs and then they take a step back, and there's that component of it too, and how well you deal with success, how much you learn, how much you change, all those things. the great thing for the Dolphins is this division is in such flux. I mean, New England's got regime change and all the problems that they're going through. Buffalo, who knows where they're going to end up, and there's a lot of question marks for a lot of reasons there. And then with the Jets, what is Aaron Rodgers? Is Aaron going to be able to play? If he plays, how well is he going to play? So that's the great thing. Different than what we were talking about with Baltimore and Cincinnati being in that division. This is a great division for Miami to be in, and that gives them the best chance to get over the hump and win the division and have a chance to play a playoff game.
No, that's true.
Break dancers or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring them out.
That's the perfect analogy. That's what they are. Flashy, fun to watch.
But they just break
If
dancers.
I need protection.
What if you put a cold or like a heavy jacket on them? Will that be